Good day, lovely people. Another channel here on YouTube that I've been watching. He's a really smart guy that's definitely walks in the spirit. And the channel is called The Reality by J. Rocco, R-O-C-C-O. And he did a video recently that says the 144,000. Everyone says you're one. What if you aren't? And I thought it was a very interesting topic because if you're just going around telling people that they're the 144,000 or if they're the star seeds or the rainbow warriors or chosen, when that's not your job to say that they are chosen. What makes a person chosen is a covenant with God. And what that is a two-way relationship. You know, there's things that need to be done to be chosen. And I believe that when we speak to people this way and say, you're chosen, then we can actually encourage ego inflation instead of humility. And when a person holds so much confidence and holds themselves as this spiritual hierarchy, when they don't have the competence or the true work that gives people the wisdom of spirit, then we call that spiritual narcissism. And so we shouldn't be encouraging people into spiritual bypassing through ego inflation. You know, a lot of people have trauma, and instead we tell them, you're fine the way you are, everything's good, and you're actually so powerful, and we tell them and we lift them up. That's actually not what we want to do. We want them to go in and find the things about themselves that aren't godly. Because before God starts to speak to people, you have to figure out the stuff that makes you a vessel for anger and resentment and envy. And nobody's perfect, so everyone's going to have these resentments and envy inside themselves. But the thing about it is, if you're not acting upon it in the world, then you are not harming anybody. So, and when we notice these resentments and envy that come up in ourselves, it comes up in everybody, and we have a conversation with ourselves about it. For example, I had some envy come up in the morning about the same situation where I see a lot of people being chosen for their kind of Machiavellian traits or their false virtue that they show the world and being lifted up because of that. And I was like, and I felt this resentment that early in the morning, just kind of grumpy and in pain. That was like, oh, like I speak the truth and try to like be this, and and the world doesn't show any love for it. But the truth being is, I have to kill that part of myself, because I can't expect anything for speaking the truth. I can't expect anything for having this covenants with God, because I'm already getting paid from all the beauty that He lets me see in this world, with all the meaning that He gives me in this world. And whenever I want something from this world, rather than continuing that covenant with God that is less attached to this three-dimensional plane, is the more that we're going to live as the chosen ones. Because what we're trying to do is lead people out of their cycle of three-dimensional thinking and realize that there's something to connect to, a truth to connect to that is more important than the outcome that happens in this realm. And so I have seen a lot of people talk about, rainbow warriors, 144,000, when I can see very much that they are not being the virtue they need to be that. And I have seen this quite a few times. Like this one guy local here calls himself a shaman, and he speaks about being a rainbow warrior. And I had a conversation with him out, and about 3, 4, 5 times indigenous came up, and he threw that virtue out of what he is, his blood is why he is part of being a rainbow warrior. And I think that that's the thing we have to stay the farthest away from. It has nothing to do with our flesh, why we are chosen. And so I challenged him on his blood relationship to being chosen. And since that situation, we haven't had another conversation. And I see that when you challenge people on these kind of things they think are true, and they don't have any rebuttal to it, they will run. And then you know whether they are a true soldier for God or somebody that's just putting out false virtue so that they can gain the world through their guru energy. So for me, I go out and I speak the truth, and I've been trying to do this for I've been doing this for years, and I see where it leads. And then when I come up to these people that claim to have this certain spiritual power, we have a conversation, and I find that I always can trigger these people, and then all of a sudden they run away. And so to me, whenever somebody disagrees with me in any of these videos, I actually ask them, hey, do you want to come on and have a conversation? I say, I go towards our disagreement because, to be honest, I may be wrong. And so in that humility, I can learn something here, but instead of running away and being scared because I don't understand, I don't have a rebuttal, and too connected and entrenched in my idea that I won't hear the truth, then I'm not living as a chosen by God thing. Because one thing about being chosen is knowing other people have truths to teach you. Other people receive transmissions from the God that you don't. And other people have competencies that you don't. And that is what makes us chosen. We all sit in our own competence hierarchy and even in the spirit world. There is reasons why certain people are going to be held up and be called, say, spiritual leaders and such. A spiritual leader is one that gets along with many spiritual leaders, and in that relationship, through the logos, through the truth and reason and logic, humility, and trying to bring God's word to flesh in a group. And that's the dialogue of a group that can bring us to this new world. So whenever I run into somebody and I'm like, oh, this person's very powerful, I can see that they have this strength to them, or they've learned a lot, so they at least seem like they have the virtue of a chosen person. And what I do to test them, and I'm not saying I test them like I'm planning to test them, is that this is how I am with everybody, is I do not ignore any topic that God gives me when I'm around them. I don't. And I speak these things about people, and I watch their reactions, and then I offer to everybody is, let's have a podcast and let's talk about it. Because I believe if people don't have the courage to share the conversation with other people of what you're talking about, then they might just be acting like your friend in secret so that they can continue to pretend to be the virtue that gains them this world. And so when we're transparent and you put your virtue to the test and put your humility to the test, put your ability to dialogue to the test through a long form conversation with somebody that might push against your ideas, then that shows your virtue. And so I'll continue asking people to come on and speak with me, especially those that come in and criticize. Is I'll say, please tell me exactly what you mean. I will ask people, what are you talking about in this? And I want to learn. I don't want to be wrong. And I think that a lot of times people are kind of afraid to go into these conversations because there's battles in the past, arguments in the past have led to death, have led to bad outcomes. So people don't like conflict at all. But when you have trust when you have trust with the people that you're speaking with, that they all care about the collective as much as each other, and nobody's going to pull them away from what the truth is, then you'll be able to let go of that defensive nature when in debates. You'll get to let go of the necessity to have your idea be right. Instead, be like, what is the best idea for us to come together in unity as one? And when you know that and you trust that in the group that you're in, wow, can some magic happen. However, in these spiritual, amongst these people that think they've got it figured out, the spirit figured out. They think they got all this stuff figured out, and they won't let their ideas be, they won't let any pressure be put on any of their ideas. That to me is far from a connection to spirit. And I know there is lots of different ways to connect to spirit, and there's the maternal spirit, and that is what people do to like take care of people. They're not ones to push or do any kind of conflict, and they just want to be the mother, and I respect that too, because we need it. However, if you are that, then don't step into, and you don't want to have conflict, then don't come in and step into conflict, and then and don't claim competence in that realm. Know your competence in what realm you work with, and show the respect to the people that do have the competence in other realms. I have that quite a lot with people, as I'm just speaking, and I speak exactly what comes to me at that time, and I watch people start to kind of get grumpy and start to be like, well, I'm a therapist, I'm this, I know about this, and they use their clout that was given to, that they claim to have, to say that they're right, and you can start to see them needing to get some attention. It's actually just it is a lack of self-confidence, and so we have to forgive them. They know not what they do, because they just need to be seen as something that maybe you just pushed up against. I had for example, just to make it a little more clear, I had a girlfriend a while back, and she was a PhD in psychology, and we'd have these conversations, and we get to this point where she would either come to a point where she had an idea that would go against mine, and instead of agreeing to disagree, she would say, no, I'm right because I'm a PhD. Or other times I could see she doesn't understand what I'm saying, she'd pull out the PhD words. Instead of using her competence to show, instead she got emotional and said, well, I'm a therapist, I'm a PhD. Well, this is the thing, is I see that a lot from people. I've heard people call themselves, I'm a shaman, I'm this, I'm a witch, I'm this. It's I don't know how much we need to get involved with telling people what we are, and do we really want to put ourselves in any kind of box at all? And maybe I could call myself a Rasta man, but there's a lot of even Rastas that, I probably don't know about, that I don't want to claim to subscribe to. So when you put yourself into a box, you might realize is you're probably putting yourself in a box that other people may see you different as. And that's why I could even say that I believe Christ is more Gnostic than Orthodox. However, I actually believe that Christ is all, so that means he's a balance of both. He knows when he needs to be more Orthodox and when he needs to be more Gnostic. And when you start to say you're a Gnostic out to Christians and stuff, all of a sudden you're a heretic. So that's why when we don't give ourselves a label and say for myself, I just say I read the Bible very different than other people do. And if people are really interested in understanding what that means, then they can ask me more about it, or I'll point them towards some of the videos that I talk about these things. And that's a way that you can sit around all different kinds of Christians. I've met up with Christians from Seventh-day Adventists and the Jehovah's Witnesses, and 2 other churches, and we all love Christ, and we all want to act as Christ. At least most of them, I would assume, are trying to be what Christ is. And as long as we can meet under that roof, then it's as simple as this. What is Christ? In each situation, it'd be what would Christ do here? And then we could have a conversation about that, and then we can look at texts in these situations and come to a plan. But as soon as, what I see from a lot of churches, one church wants you to join this church because they think of it a little different this way and this way, and then there's all this division within the same simple beliefs. Christians think I'm New Age, and the New Age think I'm a fundamental Christian, and And what my opinion is on what the chosen are is those who are religious about truth and will never run from any information or any situation that they need to deal with or learn about. So when I wake up early in the morning in pain and I can feel that kind of grumpy resentment come up in myself, I sit down and I meditate on it and I give myself a talking to about it. And I say, you do not need anything from anybody, and you do not need to give for outcome. That's what a strong man is somebody gives because that is their job. The reason people speak and do the will of God is because that's their passion, that's what they are connected to doing, and that's why they do it. And you know what? The payment is when you see a situation that you acted upon through that truth improve. When you see a person get pulled out of a darkness because you spoke to them. When you see that truth that at first made the person run away, but in return made that relationship way stronger when they came back. That is your payment. And your payment is the new world that you will see and you will inherit if you truly are the meek that deserve to inherit it. And I speak in my videos as if I'm speaking to chosen ones or to 144,000 or to star seeds. And I want them to pull me to that higher truth if they're out there and they disagree with me. And when I speak as if I'm speaking to the chosen, I'm speaking truthfully, and I'm speaking not for outcome, but for what comes directly to my mind. And because of that, a lot of people are just going to run and they're not going to watch my videos. And that, in return, that's where we separate the wheat from the tares, is through the truth. When you see somebody run away and you're like, oh, this feels bad, like I spoke that truth and now I don't have this relationship. Just realize is true love and true friendship are those who love us for who we truly are and who we are becoming, and they help us get there rather than run away from us as soon as they feel a little uncomfortable. That just means they were likely just getting something from that relationship that gave them shelter from the truth. And as soon as you became truthful, you didn't provide that shelter anymore, and they ran off to somebody else that's going to continue allowing them to stay in their delusions. It's hard speaking the truth all the time. It's hard being this kind of archetype, but I encourage you that it will lead to the best for you. And you know, maybe not even in this life. However, that's how we know also that we're speaking and acting for God, is that we are not speaking or acting for any outcome in this lifetime even. Our words are invested for future generations. Our words are investments to help the children and the children's children. Thank you all for joining me today, and I hope you're having a wonderful February. I love you all, and God bless.